Hey guys, it's July the 12th, 2024, and I just want to start off today's video and just say thank you everyone, that said so many nice things in the comments from yesterday's video. I've yet to finish replying to all those comments. I started replying to them yesterday, and I ended up falling asleep yesterday and trying to get some more rest, but got up early this morning and started trying to get some things done around here that have been falling to the wayside because I haven't been feeling well. And while I was doing some stuff this morning, I started thinking about today's topic for today's video, and I really started thinking about the guilt and the shame that come along with being an alcoholic or an addict. For so many years, I was so ashamed of myself for what I had become. And, I don't really, I can't put my finger on the exact date that it happened, but I know around about time that it happened. I've talked about this many times on here, but, I started off drinking beer. And, it started off with me, a couple beers would get me drunk. And back then, people used to actually make fun of me because I was such a lightweight. And I was ashamed of myself because it's so funny because I was ashamed of myself because I couldn't drink like everybody else was or could. I had a lot of friends that drank pretty heavily, and I would hang around with them and have a couple beers, and I would seriously, I would get drunk off 2-3 beers, and people would be like, "Man, you're such a lightweight, really, you're such a wimp. Only a couple beers and you get drunk." And I was like, man, why am I, such a lightweight? And like I said, I remember the time in my life when it started to become a problem because I went from drinking beer to hard liquor. But during that period of time when I was drinking beer and it started to increase, my usage started to increase, I I got to the point where, my life basically revolved around beer. And it was like a big joke. For my birthday or for holidays, whatever, people would get me koozies and shirts that had beer stuff on it, and hats with beer stuff on it. It was just everything. People associated me with beer, and I always had a beer in my hand. And I thought that it was completely okay because I was just drinking beer, and it was light beer and not that big of a deal. And I was young, and I thought at some point, I'll slow this down, but I'm young right now, so I'm just going to keep drinking and having a good time. And this morning I was thinking a lot about that. And during that period of time, how I didn't think I had a problem, and how I kept telling myself over and over again in my 20s, at some point I'm going to get control of this, and I'm going to slow down, I'm going to grow up, and I'm going to quit drinking in this manner. And that's not what happened. If anything, it was the complete opposite. I switched over to drinking hard liquor, and my problem just got completely out of control. And it's not like something that happens overnight. It took time. And, over time of, drinking liquor, and I still drink beer too, but over that period of time, it just got to the point where the beer kind of just wasn't doing it for me anymore, and I just wanted to drink hard liquor because, liquor will get you there quicker. And I was tired of wasting my time, trying to drink a 12-pack of beer, and it was taking all night to get there. I just wanted to hurry up and get to the point where I was just numb. And over that period of time, my tolerance increased. And with the tolerance increase, I've talked about this so many times on here, but so did the anxiety, the hangovers the next day, just the overall feeling of just bad. I just didn't feel good most of the time because I was just always so hungover. And I was thinking about that this morning too, about those days when I would wake up and, go to work. Because I've had a lot of people on here that, will say, how did you go to work every single day like that? And I still don't know. I don't know. Because it was really hard for me to get up and go to work. I felt horrible most days. And the anxiety level that I had during that period of time was just through the roof. waking up in the morning, and then the anxiety would start because I knew that I had to leave, I had to go to work, and my anxiety would start ramping up. I would start thinking about all the stuff that I had to get done for the day, and the fact that I had to drive this long distance to get to my job or whatever it was, and my anxiety started getting up there and up there. So what did the first thing I did? I reached for alcohol in order to relieve my anxiety, and we all know how that turns out. And the thing is that with the alcohol, it has like an opposite effect at some point, where the anxiety, it works for the anxiety at first, but after a while it starts to create more anxiety, especially the next day after you wake up. That phenomenon of anxiety is a real phenomenon. And, I'd wake up in the morning, heart would be racing. I would just feel how my fight or flight response would be kicked in. And, I would reach for the alcohol thinking that was going to help. And if anything, it just created more anxiety. Trying to drive to work in the morning, knowing that my BAC was probably way above where it was supposed to be. Thinking to myself, if I got pulled over on the way to work today, what's going to happen? Everybody in my town's going to see that I got a DUI. And I'm going to get exposed. Everybody's going to find out that I'm an alcoholic, although pretty much everybody in my town knew that I already was. And back then too, the joking around about being an alcoholic, I used to do that all the time. I'm an alcoholic, but I was trying to pretend like I was kidding when I would say that, but deep down inside, I actually knew I really was, but it was often a joke. And, I see all these shirts and stuff like that these days, there's all these different kinds of, slogans and stuff like that. Like, I'm not a quitter. I can't remember how it goes, but it's, something like, to the extent of, I'm not an alcoholic because I'm not a quitter and stuff like that. Wine mommy, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere and all this kind of stuff. It's just, it's like you see people wearing that kind of attire or whatever. Probably deep down inside, they probably really do have a problem, and they're trying to make light of the situation. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm kind of getting off track. What I'm here to talk about today is the guilt and the shame that comes along with this, and how guilty that we will feel, and how shameful that we feel because of our addiction. These flies are horrible out here today. I was just so ashamed of myself that I let this happen, and I kept blaming myself, thinking that I was a weak person because I had let this happen and that I couldn't stop. I tried quitting probably at least 100 times, and it never worked out. Probably the longest amount of time that I might have had under my belt was maybe a week or two. I don't really remember, the length of time it was the longest that I ever quit, but it wasn't very long. And every time that I did get any time under my belt, the first thing I would tell myself is, well, see, you did it. You did a good job, and you have control. You've gone 7 days without drinking, so you can control it this time. You can just have a beer or two on a Friday night. And I would trick myself and think that that I could control it this time, and it just never worked out because, maybe that one Friday night I would have just 2 or 3 beers. But the next night, I went right back to, drinking the amount that I drank before, if not worse. I might have had a couple beers that first night, but the next day I was at the liquor store because I didn't want to waste my time drinking beer, and I couldn't really conceal my consumption with beer. But I could conceal it a heck of a lot easier with the liquor, hiding it in a water bottle, or hiding it in mini bottles and keeping them in my socks or in my pocket, or having a flask somewhere that I could hide, or pouring it into a Sprite bottle and walking around sipping on that, pretending like I'm drinking Sprite, when knowing dang good and well that was not Sprite that was in that bottle, or water that was in that bottle. But it was so much easier to conceal it when I drank liquor. And the thing is about it is that if you're feeling guiltful, shameful, because your drinking has gotten out of control, it's not your fault. Don't beat yourself up over it. Uh, there wouldn't be so many people on this planet that have a problem with AUD or alcoholism or whatever you want to call it. If it was something that we chose and it was easy to stop. It's just something that happens over time. You didn't choose to turn out this way. Nobody chooses to turn out this way. It's not your fault. So don't be angry at yourself. Don't be shameful of yourself. Don't feel guilty. It's just something that happens, and it's unfortunate, but it does. One of the first things is that if you're watching this video right now, you're making one of the first steps, because you know that you probably have a problem. And I don't know if you're watching this video because you're trying to decipher the fact that if you do have a problem, if you're trying to watch this to see what my consumption was like and trying to compare yours to mine or whatever it may be. But, one of the first steps is admitting that we have a problem. And, if that's the case for you, and if you're watching this considering and thinking that you might have a problem, good for you for making that first step, because that's the first thing that we have to do is recognize that we do have an issue. And, for so many years, I knew I had a problem, but I was in self-denial, and I kept telling myself that I could fix my problems. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And I was in insanity. I kept doing the same thing every single day, expecting different results. Tomorrow's gonna be different. I kept telling myself that. I kept telling myself that every single night when I went to bed. Tomorrow will be different. I will not drink tomorrow. I told myself that every single night. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who have either told yourself that or are telling yourself that right now. Or when you wake up in the morning and you're so hungover that you can barely even get out of the bed and you say, I am not drinking today. And you tell yourself, and you mean it. You really do mean it. You want to stop. And you're telling yourself that every morning. I'm not drinking today. I feel so horrible right now. I do not want to experience this feeling anymore. And you sit there and you tell yourself, I'm not going to drink today. And then later on in the day, what are you doing? It's almost like you're blindlessly driving to the store and you don't even know what you're doing. I've been there so many times. It's like one minute I was at my house, and before I knew it, I was back home with a bottle of liquor with that black bag in my hand. So many times I did that. I didn't even realize how I even got there and got home. It was like it was programmed into me or something. It was like muscle memory. I just drove to the store. It's like I didn't even have to think about it. So many times I woke up in the morning and I would tell myself, I'm not going today. I don't even have the money to even go do it. And the next thing you know, I'm flipping the couch upside down, flipping all the cushions upside down. I'm digging through every single vehicle that we have, trying to find every single quarter, dime, nickel that I can find. I can't tell you how many mornings I would be running around the house, digging in every single nook and cranny, corner, couch cushion, anywhere that I could think that there might be a little bit of change so that I could get my money together just to go buy that one cheap, disgusting bottle of vodka that I would just sit there and drink on for the rest of the day. And the feeling of I accomplished it, finally, that I got just enough money to get that bottle, and then I came home. And that feeling, walking into the liquor store with a pocket full of change to buy my bottle of liquor, the embarrassment that I felt when I went in there like that. And I'll never forget the one time that I went into a liquor store with a bunch of change, and the lady told me, we don't accept change here anymore. I was so embarrassed. So what did I do? I took all that change, went to one of those Coinstar machines, poured all my change into it, got the dollar bills, went right back to that same liquor store because I wanted to show her that I had the cash, went and bought my liquor, and then I went home and continued to drink myself into oblivion that night, only to wake up the next day feeling like complete trash, to feel like I'm just a worthless human being because I had no self-control at all. And if that's how you feel, I know exactly how you feel. I've been there. I have been there myself so many times, so many days. That feeling of you just let yourself down again as you pour yourself that drink, that first drink of the day, after you promised yourself that you weren't going to do it again. And there you are, all over again, putting the ice in the cup, pouring that liquor. I did that so many times. But my point is that if you're feeling that way, you're not alone. You're not alone. There are so many of us out there that are feeling like that have felt like that. But there is a way out. There is. And I can tell you this much, that if I can stop, you can stop. I'm just a normal guy. I am nobody special by any means whatsoever. I'm just a normal dude. You know, I just live out here in the country, and I make videos on YouTube trying to help other people not to end up like I did. And that's why I talk about this every single day. Because I want you to know that you're not alone in how you feel. And that I was there too. I was guilty. I was shameful. I felt horrible about it every single day. And I just couldn't change. And it wasn't until I ended up getting really sick and ended up in the hospital and got put on a medical detox that I was able to finally stop. You know, when the doctor sat there and told me, you know, he looked me right in my eyes and he said, I'm going to tell you like this, if you ever drink again, you will lose your life. And, you know, that was a really hard pill to swallow to hear that. And it wasn't until then that I actually was able to quit. And even then, it wasn't easy. You know, that first month after I quit drinking, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was lost. You know, drinking was what I filled all my time with, and every single thing that in my life was associated with alcohol. You know, I'm trying to reprogram my brain and trying to find things to do that I didn't associate with alcohol. That was really difficult to do because, like I said, everything in my life was associated with drinking. Everything fun that I did, alcohol was involved. So I had to redo everything in my life. I had to stop doing those things that, you know, that were fun for me. Not to mention I was too sick to do most of it anymore, but, you know, I just had to redesign the way that I lived my life. I just couldn't have a beer when I went to go do things anymore. You know, anything that I did, there was alcohol with me. You know, if I went kayaking for the day, I had a cooler of beer on my kayak and probably a little flask of liquor in there as well. You know, if I went to one of my kids' soccer games, you know, I had a cooler in my car. And I had a little cup like this, and I would keep walking out to my car and pouring alcohol in it throughout the day. Or, you know, throughout the game or whatever it was. Or if I went to the beach, there was a cooler of alcohol in my car that I took down to the beach with me. And if they said no alcohol there, I didn't listen to that. You're not going to tell me I can't drink. You know, if I went camping, and even the campground specifically said no alcohol on these premises, get out of here. Okay. You know, who's going to stop me? You know, I just poured it in a cup, or I had a koozie, or I just, you know, didn't expose myself. I sat back behind the tent where no one could see what I was doing, and I drank. And, you know, trying to reprogram my whole life and do different things that didn't associate alcohol was difficult. But eventually I got there. And there's still some things that I don't do anymore because, you know, I drank every single time that I used to do them, and I just don't do them any longer. Maybe one day, I don't know. But like I said, the point of today's video is that if you're feeling guiltful, shameful about your addiction, I get it. I totally do. But none of us set out to become alcoholics or addicts. We just didn't. And it's not your fault. You know, alcohol is a very powerful drug. And it sneaks into your life. You know, at first it's innocent, you know. And yeah, you can have a good time with it at the beginning. You know, you go out with your friends, it's a social lubricant. You can open up, be funny, have a good time. You're not nervous about things, you know. That's why I started drinking. You know, I had, you know, social anxiety, being around a bunch of people. And, you know, I would go to a party and I would be anxious. And, you know, after a couple of drinks, I wasn't anxious anymore. You know, I was the guy that was upside down doing the beer keg stand. And doing all kinds of crazy stuff at the party. And just acting the fool. And jumping into the pool naked. And streaking down the road and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't who I was deep down inside, but when I drank, that's who I thought that I wanted to be. And it opened me up enough to allow me to do those types of things because it lowers our inhibitions. And we think that's who we want to become. And like I said, you know, when we're younger and we're trying to get out there and discover the world, you know, alcohol can fool us and make us think that, yeah, this makes things so much easier. And I always had that idea, you know, I'm going to do this for now, you know, get my life in order. This is going to help me through these anxious situations. You know, those business meetings where I had to travel a few hours away and get up and stand in front of all the managers in the meeting and speak. And I was so nervous, you know, a couple beers before one of those. And I was chilled out, no big deal at all. And I always had this idea of this is going to help me through these moments. And one day I'm going to stop drinking. You know, and another thing too is that, you know, I've talked about this on here as well, but my last job, you know, I thought that running away from my job was going to solve my problems. I told every single person that I knew that I was going to be a long-haired hippie and I wasn't going to be drinking anymore. And I was just going to be chilling out. You know, I was going to, you know, start my own business and work my own hours and, you know, I'm going to live this grandiose life and everything's going to be honky-dory and I won't drink anymore and this and that. And I promised my wife that when I left my job that I was going to stop. You know, and then the first couple weeks after I left my job, you know, it's like, well, I'm just having a good time right now. I'm just drinking for now, but give me a couple more days and I'm going to quit. You know, I'm eventually going to get there. I'm just enjoying myself right now. I just quit my job. Well, those few weeks turned into months and those months turned into a couple years. And the next thing I know, I found myself laying on a hospital bed with a doctor telling me that he didn't know if he was going to be able to save my life. Because I was scared to ask for help. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to admit that I had a problem to anyone. And for any of you guys out there right now that are feeling that way, I completely understand. But I just want you to know something. There are so many people here in this community who have been through what you have been through, that have changed their lives too. And, you know, like I said, if I can stop, you can as well. I was a horrible alcoholic. I didn't see any way out of it. And I finally got myself out of it. Yeah, I went through a medical detox. I could have went back at any given moment. I could go buy a 6-pack of beer right now if I wanted to. There's nothing stopping me. I don't have any physical roadblocks that are stopping me from doing anything. I could make that decision right this second, get in my car and go right to the gas station, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to be sober for today. And I've talked about this so many times on here, but you know, the saying one day at a time is so true. Don't think about it as, what did I do yesterday? How much, you know, I'm so embarrassed about what I did at that party or how much I drank. Don't worry about that. That's in the past now. It's gone. And don't think about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do at my sister's wedding next year? Or what am I going to do at that New Year's party that we have to work every single year? Or what am I going to do when I have this really anxious moment that I know that I always have a drink before I do it? Or whatever it is. Don't think about that. You'll get there when you get there. Just think about today. Are you going to drink today? No. You're not going to drink today. You're going to be sober for today. Because if you start thinking too far into the future, you're going to give yourself anxiety. If you start thinking too much into the past, you're going to give yourself anxiety. Just think about right now and in the moment that you're in, and just for today. The days are short. They don't last that long. And if you can make it through just today, go to bed, wake up tomorrow morning, and not wake up hungover, you're going to feel so much better. And then tomorrow, tell yourself, I'm not going to drink today either. That's all you have to do. And each day, tell yourself, I'm not going to drink today. And you can tell yourself that every single day. And next thing you know, you've got a month under your belt, 2 months under your belt, 3 months under your belt. And the further and further you get away from the alcohol, the easier that it gets. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I don't ever think about drinking, because I do. But the amount that I think about it, it's not anywhere near it was in the beginning. You know, I still face hard times. I still have bad days. I still have moments of weakness where, my mind will drift off. Then I'll start thinking about, the alcohol. But I just have to quickly just shake myself out of it and go, what are you thinking? That's not going to fix your problems. It's not going to make anything better. If anything, it's going to create more problems. And talk about feeling guiltful and shameful. If I was to relapse, how I would feel the next day, I don't want to go back to that. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with relapse because it's part of the process. I relapsed so many times, over and over and over again. And I felt so horrible about it, but it's just part of the process. It's part of the journey. And if you've fallen down 100 times, just keep picking yourself back up until it sticks one day, because it will. My point of today's video is that if you feel guiltful, you feel shameful about how you've been drinking, how you drank in the past, I completely understand. And I totally get it. But it's completely, it is what it is at this point now. And like I said, if you're watching this video, you're taking the first step and realizing that you might have a problem. And the question is now, what are you going to do about it? I say this in almost every single video. If you're thinking about stopping drinking and you've been drinking for quite some time, please consult a doctor before you stop abruptly. Quitting cold turkey, alcohol or benzodiazepines can be life-threatening. So please speak with a doctor before you do so. But if you've spoken with your doctor and your doctor gives you the A-OK to go ahead and move on with it, they might want to help you through with some medication or something, and that's okay if they do. I went through a medical detox. It helped me out significantly. There's nothing wrong with that. And if that's what you need, go for it. It's okay to ask for help. This is not easy to do. Think about how much better your life would be without the alcohol. Think about all the things you could be doing with yourself without it in your life. Because I can promise you that your life will improve dramatically if you remove it. But once again, please speak with your doctor before you do so. But like I said, if you're feeling guilt and shame because of your addiction, I understand, but it's not your fault. It's not. You didn't choose for this to happen. It's just something that happens to us. Certain people, we just have a certain brain makeup or chemistry or whatever it is. It just happens to some of us. And, at the end of the day, there's a lot of us on this planet. There's a lot of people that are suffering in silence and they're scared to ask for help because of their shame and their guilt. Don't worry about what other people think about you. This is your life. And I know how bad that you want to fix it. Don't be scared to ask. There's tons of people here on this channel who could help. You could get advice from anybody on here, what they did, methods that they used to stop. But the one thing that I can tell you is that life on the other side, and I know you hear it from a lot of different people, or if you haven't, I'm going to tell you today, it's so much better. It's not easy, but the prize on the other side of it, it is so much worth it. I can promise you that. Not having that chain attached to you every single day, wondering where you're going to get your next bottle or case of beer from or whatever it is that you use. Not having that constant worry of how am I going to achieve my next high. You can just move through life and not have to worry about that anymore. And just think about how much money you're going to save on the back end too. I've saved myself so much money because I don't drink any longer. And there's so many indirect costs that you don't even think about that are associated with drinking or using too. How many times have you gone out to a bar just planning on having one beer with a friend, and the next thing you know, you wake up the next morning and you spent $400 because you started getting a buzz, shots are on me, before you know it, you've bought everybody in the bar a shot. You think anybody remembers that the next day? You think anybody cares? Nobody cares. They probably don't remember what you even did. $300 tip that you left for the server because you were intoxicated, and service wasn't even like that great, but you just wanted to show off that night because you were drunk and show all your friends how much money you have or whatever. I mean, there's just so many different indirect costs involved in this. Getting a DUI, smoking cigarettes, because we all know how not everybody here smoked and drank at the same time. I did, a lot of us did. Cigarettes and alcohol go together like peas and carrots. It's just one of those things. All the cost with the cigarettes, or other drugs that we might use because our inhibitions are lowered when we're drinking. I never messed around with any hard drugs whenever I was sober. It was only when I was drinking. That was the only time I ever did it. I never thought about doing anything else unless I was intoxicated. Next thing you know, I saw somebody with something, and before you know it, I was playing around with that. I could have lost my life so many times. And especially these days, none of the drugs that are out there are what they are. They're all cut or mixed with something. And with the fentanyl crisis that we have right now, you never know what might be in something. Just think about, you go out to a bar one night, somebody's got a bag of the white stuff, and you're really drunk, and you think, man, that'd be nice to have one of those. That'll wake me up, sober me up a little bit. And next thing you know, you take a key bump off of something, and it's laced with fentanyl, and that could be it. Something that you probably would not have done if you were sober, but our inhibitions got lowered, and you just decided it was a good idea for that night. One bad decision because of lowered inhibitions could be your final decision. Just so many negative consequences that come along with drinking and getting intoxicated. We just make poor decisions when we drink. But, once again, if you're feeling guilt and shame, it's not your fault. You're just a normal human being. And, it's just one of those things, we want to feel numb sometimes. We don't want to feel those feelings. But getting sober and being able to deal with our emotions, deal with our problems, because so often I would drink to not have to deal with my problems. Those problems still were there. They didn't go anywhere. And I thought that just by getting myself numb, where I could forget about my problems, was going to solve my problems. It didn't solve anything. That problem was still there. It didn't go anywhere. And the next day I was hungover trying to deal with whatever that problem was while I was hungover with super bad anxiety. It just made the problem 10 times worse. When we're sober, we can deal with our problems, our issues, our problems with other people, situations that we get put in, face it instantly, get it over and done with, and move on with life. And, I put off so many things when I was a drinker. So many days that things need to get done around the house. So many projects that I put off because I felt like trash every single day. Now something breaks, I just fix it right away. I don't waste any time unless I just don't feel good that day. But if something happens, the drain gets backed up in the kitchen sink, I take it apart and fix it. I might not feel like doing it right that minute, but you know what? I'd rather just go ahead and get it done, because I know if I don't, 10 more things are going to pile up. So I just get things knocked out. These are things I never could have done when I was a drinker. And I'm sick a lot. I don't feel good a lot of the time. And I can get a lot of stuff done because I don't drink anymore, because I don't have that problem. I'm not putting things off any longer. I just go ahead and get them done. And you could be there too. I promise you that you can stop. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you think you need it. There are people that can help you out there. There's tons of programs, AA, whatever it is. There's all kinds of places you could go to seek help, whatever it is, whatever you think that you might need, just go for it. It is the best investment that you will ever make in your entire life. If you think you might need to go to a rehab facility, go. Don't worry about anything else. Just go ahead and do it. Because if you continue to drink, the problem's just going to get worse. Your tolerance is going to continue to increase, and the problems are just going to get even worse. If this is something that you're considering, just go for it. I'm telling you, it's the best investment that you'll ever make in your life. But once again, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. It's completely okay. Alcohol is a sneaky, deceptive, and very addictive drug. In my opinion, it's probably one of the most addictive drugs out there, one of the most dangerous. Alcohol doesn't discriminate at all. It doesn't care about your financial status. It doesn't matter what your religion is, what color you are, what gender you are. It doesn't care about any of that. It doesn't care if you paid your taxes last year. It doesn't care about anything. It infiltrates every single aspect of our society. And, you know, and because it's so powerful, so many people get addicted to it. There's tons of channels on YouTube. There's so many people that are on here talking about this topic. If you don't like my channel, go watch one of the other ones. There are so many other channels out there. If you don't like the way that I talk about this, that's completely fine. I'm just here every single day because I want to help, and I want to see other people not end up the way that I did. And I want to help people see the light in that, if, you know, before it becomes a problem to the point where I was at, that maybe they could stop it in its tracks right now and not end up where I was. That's what I'm here talking about every day. So, with that said, guys, I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you stuck all the way to the end, I really do appreciate it. And I know I kind of rambled on, but it's been kind of on my mind this morning. I've just been really thinking about it, and you know, just the struggles that I went through when I was a drinker, and just how shameful and guilty that I felt all the time. I just felt like a horrible human being. And you know, it's not until now I realized that, you know, I got addicted to something and I didn't mean to. And I know you didn't mean to either. None of us do. We just don't. So, once again, guys, I hope y'all have a wonderful day today. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. By the way, I'm going to do a live video tomorrow. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the live about 10 a.m. I've got some things I need to do tomorrow. So the live will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd love to see anybody there that can join in. I know it's a little bit earlier, but I got some stuff I need to do tomorrow afternoon. I'm gonna hang around for about an hour probably tomorrow. I can't do a super long video because I got some stuff I need to do with my family tomorrow afternoon. So it's gonna be from 10 to 11 tomorrow. I'm gonna have to cut it off at 11 o'clock a.m. But for anybody that wants to jump in, it's gonna be an hour-long live from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. Basically just a live Q&A. You guys can hop in, ask me whatever you want. It's just, we always have a great conversation. It's a really good time. So anybody that wants to hop in tomorrow, I'd love to see you there. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys then. Y'all have a great day. Love y'all so much. Bye.